Hi, welcome to Yarn Tales and Hooks. My name is Anita. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks to those who have been a while. Thanks to those who've been around for a while, and thanks to those who might be seeing me for the first time. So, I don't really. For those of you that don't know, I work overnight. I work 7 days on and 7 days off, and I don't really um do a whole lot of crocheting on my 7 days on. I don't, because I have to sleep during the day, obviously, because I work overnight, and I just don't sleep the greatest during the day when I'm supposed to be sleeping. Um, I don't, I'm always waking up. I just, and I'm too tired. I'm too tired. I don't crochet at all during my 7 days on because I never feel rested and I'm always tired. So I don't really have a whole lot to show all the time. So I don't make videos every week. I don't have anything to show. So I don't know. Sorry, Miko's dropping his bones. I don't really know what to do a video on because I don't have a whole lot to share as far as finished objects and whips and stuff. So I thought, sorry, I paused to move my camera down a little bit so you can see kind of sort of what I'm doing. So I thought I would just come on and just chat about, I don't know, nothing in particular while I am putting the border on. Whoops. I was doing half doubles and so at some point I switched to singles. Um, just chat while I'm putting the border on this blanket that I have been working on. And um, I already did the initial row of single crochets. I did it in this cream color, but I do not have enough to continue with the border with that color. So I'm switching to this color, which is what the design is in this blanket. And I'll hold it up a little bit. So if you guys haven't seen this, you can see. So this is a mosaic blanket, and Miko just moved my tripod because he is sitting by my feet here. Yes, so while I put on this border, I'm just gonna chit chat a bit, and now I'm all tangled up because I held up the blanket and my yarn is all wrapped around the blanket now. Let's fix this. Okay. So I don't know, I think what I'm going to talk about today isn't crochet related, but it is a big part of me. So I was watching. Now, see, I can't talk and crochet at the same time apparently because I went back to singles again. So I was watching, and what made me just think and reminisce and look back on things was that I was watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last week, the induction ceremonies, because even though I don't really follow the band like I used to, Miko, would you stop? um, I had seen that a band that I used to follow a lot was getting inducted. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch it. So I put it on. It started at 6 p.m. and Disney Plus was live streaming it. So I woke up and I put it on the TV and I'm like, well, they'll probably get to my band before I have to go to work because I don't leave the house till like 9 o'clock. No, he did not get to the band. So I put Disney Plus on my phone, and while I was at work, I had one earbud in so I could listen. But anyway, um, let's just talk about this band a little bit. So back in 2000, in the early 2000s, maybe even late 90s, I don't know. I started following this band, and I'm not sure what. I suppose you guys probably want to know who the band is. It is the Dave Matthews Band, and I'm not even sure what possessed me to buy this DVD, a DVD of one of their live concerts, and the DVD was called Listener Supported. And I'm not even sure what possessed me to go ahead and buy it, but I did. I mean, I was a Miko. Can you find somewhere else to chew that? Don't mind this monstrosity back there that is, I'm in my basement, and I had water damage done to my basement, and there used to be a door there to hide the unfinished part, but they had to get rid of the door. And I have these like accordion. The door frames are a really odd size, so I couldn't just go buy new doors and have them put on, because I would have had to get custom doors, which I could not afford because that is ridiculous. And I had these like these vinyl, that's the word I'm looking for, these vinyl like accordion type doors that slide. They go on a track and they slide, and I cannot get anyone to put them doors on for me, because the doors are a little bit too long, so they need to be trimmed on the bottom. And yeah, nobody will help me. I tell you, 3 brothers, and you think I could get them to help me with anything? No. Anyway, so back to the band. Um, Listener supported. Yeah, I don't know what possessed me to buy it. I just did on a whim, and I wasn't. I mean, I knew some of their stuff and everything. I'm like, oh, let's buy this. Maybe it'll be good, you know. And I watched that DVD, and I was hooked. I mean, a lot of times, bands that are live are usually better than the studio, but they were like so much better than like the studio versions. So then I started going to concerts. My first one was in 2001, and there was actually this forum, um, this Dave Matthews Band forum, and they had all this stuff where you could like input each show you've been to, and um, just track like how many times you saw a specific song, what's the rarest song you saw live, and all this stuff. So, oh my god, I was trying to remember how many shows I've actually been to. I couldn't remember, so I went back into this forum. I haven't logged into this forum in years, and I went back. I had to do the whole recover my password nonsense, and my username, because I couldn't remember. But I went in there, and yes, 2001 was my first show at Soldier Field. And I went to a show, at least one show, sometimes 3. I think one year it was as many as 4. But I went to, from 2001 to 2008, I went to 23 shows. And then I didn't go for a couple more years because, I had a house fire and just life happened. And then I went to my last one in 2012 for a total of 24 shows. Yeah. When I become, I just get laser focused on one specific thing and slightly obsessed. But yeah. And you're thinking, why would you see the same band so many times? You don't understand. I mean, if you do, great, you get it. But if you don't understand. Like, the songs evolve. The live versions evolve. They're always doing new intros, new outros, and a lot of bands, when they go on tour, it's the same set list night after night after night after night after night. That is not the case with this band at all. Um, like for instance, Alpine Valley and actually Soldier Field too. They tend to do a lot of 2 night stands at the same venue. So, 2 nights in a row at the same venue, and they hardly repeat any of the songs between those 2 nights. It's a different set, almost. They'll repeat like maybe 2 to 3, and they play for like 3 hours. It's insane. And they never play the same song the same way um, from year to year. Like I said, the songs are constantly evolving. They'll like do new intros, new outros, new jams, new segues. Um, they'll like sample, like for instance, the year that Rick James died. He was known for Super Freak. She's a super freak, super freak. Yeah. Anyway, so they have Too Much and So Much to Say are two of their songs, and they always do this segue between the two songs. And they switched up the segue right after Rick James died, and they sampled Super Freak during the segue. And they're always doing like stuff like that. They'll do different covers. They'll bust out different covers every now and then. Um, yeah, so that is why I saw them so many times. It's never the same, and they're just so good live. You just don't understand. The band is so tight. They do, I don't know. They're just different from most everything else you hear. They play in these unique time signatures. They're really good. And I watched the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they got inducted, and it just made me think about how I used to see them and stuff. And the reason why I stopped going, and I kind of stopped like really following them, because I couldn't go anymore to these concerts. I just didn't have the funds, because a lot of times I don't really know anyone that wants to go to these concerts with me. So a lot of the times I have to pay for my ticket, their ticket, the gas, the hotel, in order to go, because it's not really anybody's thing that I know. So I'm like, hey, if I pay for everything, can you take me, please? And now I was in my 20s when I started going, and I had less responsibilities. And now I have a mortgage, and, when I stopped going, it was because of the fire. I lost everything I owned. I was displaced. I didn't have a place. Think I was living with my brother, but my oldest brother. And yeah, so then, because I stopped going, it kind of depressed me, because that was my getaway. I didn't crochet at this time. That was my getaway from everything, and nothing else in the world matters except for the then and now and the music. It was just a complete escape. So I stopped. I mean, I still listened every now and then, but I didn't follow them like I used to. I didn't like sit there and watch the set list go up every night when they were touring, and keep track of what they were playing, and keep track of new songs. And because honestly, it kind of depressed me that I couldn't go anymore. So I just stopped. And yeah. So yeah, I was just thinking about the band and how I was into them, and I don't know, I miss it. And I think I probably won't be able to go to a concert again anytime soon, because I do still have the mortgage payments, and the fixing of things on my house, and I just don't have the extra money, but maybe I'll start posting in that forum again. Um, so, and the other cool thing about this band is how they got to where they are today. So they started in the early 90s, I want to say. They, bar band, and they, the people that came, they started taping their shows, and they started sending these tapes to like their friends, like, out of city, out of state, and pretty soon the band just kind of blew up. And they didn't have like a record deal for several years after they started getting big. And yeah, I don't even now today, as big as they are and all of this and that, they still, like back in the day, they actually allowed people to patch into their sound equipment to get, good recordings of the shows. And today, still, they let people bring in, they don't let people, obviously, you can't have people tapping into their sound equipment now, but they still allow people to bring in their own equipment and record their shows, and then people trade the shows. So it's really cool. Like any show you've been at, you can find a copy of it, and you can relive it. Sorry, I'm at the corner here. Yeah, I was so obsessed with them, and I don't know, I'd like to go again. I am completely at all not familiar with their newer music because, like I said, I haven't been following them. But yeah, and I don't even think I have listener supported anymore. I think I lost it in the fire, but I might have to replace that sometime. So I don't know. I was just thinking a lot about music and all the things. I was actually, the first time I saw them, this is crazy. So it was 2001, and it was at Soldier Field, and like weeks before the concert, we had a really bad storm, and it knocked my power out for like at least a week. Might have even been longer. But I was living with my mom and my brothers, and my two younger brothers always had friends coming over, and some of their friends were a little sketchy. And I had my tickets, and I had just gotten paid, and I had just cashed my paycheck. I had my tickets and stuff in my wallet, along with, my money. And lo and behold, it turned up missing. I didn't care about my money. My tickets were in there. I was so upset. So then I had to, we didn't even have any power, so it's not even like I could go online and start searching for replacement tickets. I had to wait for the power to come back on. But I found replacement tickets, but they were like scalper prices. So I had to pay so much. And the person that ended up going with me was a friend and coworker. And I didn't ask her. It wasn't her fault my tickets were stolen. So I didn't ask for, tickets, money for the replacement tickets or anything. I think she paid for her ticket, and we split gas and the hotel, which I thought was fair, right? But she came with me, and she didn't even give the band a chance. She just sat there like this the whole time. Obviously did not have fun. And we got back to the hotel, and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could go back again. It was so good. She's like, well, I wouldn't go, but she's like, I'm sure you could find someone selling an extra ticket or something if you went down to the venue tomorrow night. I'm like, So I did. I ended up going back, and I'm like, screw it, I will. And and she and we get back home, and she's like telling me, she's like, well, I gave her the cash that I didn't have for the rest of the stuff, and she's like, well, I had to get my tires changed, my tires rotated before we left. Or no, was it that? No, oil. She had to get her oil changed before we left. So she wanted me to help her pay for her oil change. And then she's like, yeah, and then wear and tear on the tires, and I had to drive, I couldn't look at the scenery. I'm like, what scenery is there on the interstate? Whatever. And she wanted money for that. And she wanted money. And she's like, oh yeah, and car insurance. I'm like, why do I need to help you pay for car insurance? She's like, well, what if we had gotten into an accident? I'm like, did we? She's like, no. I'm like, well, there you go. So she wanted all this extra money. It was crazy. She's like supposed to be my friend. Needless to say, we weren't friends after she tried asking for all that. I'm like, no, I'm done. And I'm so glad I left you at the hotel room and went by myself to go see them a second time. Yeah, it's just nuts. And I was a front row one year. I went to West Palm Beach. I had a friend from the Dave Matthews Band community, and he had an extra front row ticket. His friend had backed out. His friend couldn't go anymore, so he's like, you don't have to pay for the hotel. You don't have to give me anything for the ticket. Just, take care of your airplane ticket, and the ticket's yours. And it was the day before my birthday, and you know how at the end of the shows they throw out drumsticks and picks and stuff. Yeah, I got a drumstick. Woohoo! Happy birthday to me. Yeah. A lot of good times. A lot of good times. So I don't know. I'm sorry if this isn't your thing and you don't care about any of this. And I more than understand if you are not watching. But yeah, Dave Matthews Band. That was the last band I was really and truly obsessed with. And I had like binders and binders full of different shows that I had traded off. Because people back in the day, they called them B&Bs. So if someone had a show you wanted, you would just send uh, a mailer with blank CDs, and then inside that mailer was another mailer which you had addressed to yourself. You put your address in so they could send it back to you, and then you also had the postage affixed to the mailer to come back to you. So that's how they did it. But then stuff started going digital, so um, there were like different places where you could download the shows. For instance, of a place I went a lot was called Direct Connect. It was a file sharing hub. So they had different like hubs for different bands or different movies or whatever, different types of, maybe one was for movies, maybe one was for a specific band. And they had chat rooms in there too. So a lot of the people that I met, were from that place. Um, yeah, just I went to quite a few shows, kind of sort of by myself. Like someone would just drop me off, or um, my boss went with me at least once, maybe more than once. So then him and his fiance did their own thing, and I met up with people from Direct Connect, and we tailgated and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of good times. To be young again and not have as many responsibilities, so I can do these things. But I'm glad I won as much as I did when I could. And yeah, I don't know. Music was always kind of a huge part of who I was for like the longest time. And I think I can't really go to concerts anymore. So I guess I just don't listen as much. I remember when I was a kid, like my favorite thing was when everybody was gone and I cranked up my stereo as loud as I could. And because we lived out, growing up, I lived out in the middle of nowhere, so I didn't have to worry about neighbors complaining because I was listening to music too loud or what have you. And I would just love to sing along at the top of my lungs. Yeah. And then I got embarrassed when someone came home and I didn't realize they were home, and I'm sitting there singing at the top of my lungs and people can hear me. I was like, oh, I was embarrassed. But that's all right. All right, so I guess I've rambled on about this topic for like 20 minutes. I guess, a little bit more about me if you're curious. So I think I am going to let you go. And I don't know, let me know who your favorite bands are in the comments down below. And I will see you some other time. All right, everybody have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.